There are 7 levels. Most people never get past 3. By the time this is over, you're going to know exactly which one you're standing on, and you might not like the answer. Let's begin where everyone begins. Level 1. You question everything. It doesn't start with aliens. It doesn't start with secret societies. It starts with something small. A story on the news that doesn't quite add up. A number that gets quietly corrected the next day, and nobody mentions it again. A feeling, just a feeling, that the version you're being handed has had its corners filed off. At level 1, you're not a theorist. You're just awake enough to notice that the official story and the world in front of you don't always line up. You ask the question everyone's supposed to stop asking after childhood. Why? Why that? Why now? Who benefits? Most people live their whole lives here and never go further. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with level 1. Level 1 is just paying attention. But paying attention has a side effect. Once you start noticing the cracks, you can't stop seeing them. Which brings us to level 2. You notice patterns. This is where it changes from a feeling into a habit. 1 strange story is an accident. 2 is a coincidence. But by the time you've seen the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the same shape keeps appearing. The same kinds of people in the same kinds of rooms, making the same kinds of decisions that always seem to land the same way. At level 2, you start following the money because you've watched enough times to know it ends up in the same place. You're not connecting anything yet. You're just collecting. A mental folder that's getting thicker. And the people around you start to notice you've changed. You pause during the news. You say that's convenient a little too often. They tell you you're overthinking it. You're not. You're at level 2. And the thing about level 2 is it has a door at the bottom. Most people, when they find that door, close it. The ones who open it go to level 3. Level 3? You research deeper. This is where the rabbit hole begins. This is where you stop trusting the summary and start reading the source. It feels incredible. For the first time, you're not being told what to think. You're finding out for yourself. 3 in the morning, and you're still going. Because every answer cracks open 2 more questions. This is the level where most people who get this far finally stop. Not because they ran out of questions, because the questions started costing them sleep, time, relationships. Level 3 asks for something, and most people decide the price is too high. If you're still with me, if anything I've said feels less like a story and more like a description of your last 6 months, then you're already past where most people ever go. Keep listening. It gets deeper. Level 4. You connect the dots. Up until now, everything's been separate. Individual stories. Isolated patterns. At level 4, the folder becomes a wall. And on that wall, everything connects. This is the level people picture when they hear the word, the red string, the photos, the arrows, the handwriting in the margins that says they always lie. It looks like madness from the outside. From the inside, it feels like the first time the world has ever made sense. You stop believing in coincidence entirely. Once you've seen enough patterns line up, the idea that any of it is random becomes the thing that sounds insane. Everything is connected because everything is connected, and you have the wall to prove it. The danger of level 4 isn't that you're wrong. Sometimes you're not. The danger is that you can no longer tell the difference between a real thread and a thread you tied yourself. But that doubt, that's a level 3 thought, and you left level 3 behind a while ago. Level 5. You uncover the truth. Something breaks here. Not in the world, in you. At level 5, it stops being theory. You become certain. You don't think you found something, you know you found it. The veil is thin now, thin enough to see through. And on the other side is the truth they spent so much effort keeping from you. This is the level of the long dark corridor. The exit sign at the far end that you're walking toward alone. Everyone who used to walk beside you stopped a few levels back. They called it a phase. They said you'd gone too far. How could they? They're still up there at level 1 asking why, getting the filed down answer, and going back to sleep. You're down here, where the truth actually lives. The certainty at level 5 feels like clarity. And from the outside, it's almost impossible to tell clarity apart from its twin. Level 6. You see beyond the illusion. At level 6, the individual theories don't even matter anymore. They were just the cracks. What you see now is the whole structure behind them. Reality itself is the construct. The news, the money, the patterns, the documents, all of it was scenery, a set. And you found the edge of the stage, the place where the painted backdrop stops, and you can see it for what it is. At level 6, you look at a city skyline, and you don't see buildings. You see a design. You see intention. You see the eye looking back at you from the top of the pyramid, and you understand finally that you were always being watched, and the watching was never the secret. The secret was that you agreed to it. Almost nobody reaches level 6. The air is thin here. There's hardly anyone left to talk to who'd believe a word of it. And then there's the last one, level 7. You know the game. There's no wall at level 7, no red string, no corridor. The person at level 7 has taken the gloves off, sat down at the terminal, and stopped trying to convince anyone of anything. Because at level 7, you understand the final thing. Knowing the truth changes nothing. The game keeps running whether you see it or not. A theorist who's figured it all out and can't do anything about it isn't a threat. He's just a player who finally read the rules. Level 7 is the quietest level. It looks like enlightenment. From a certain angle, it looks like peace. From another angle, the one nobody at level 7 will admit to, it looks like the loneliest place a human mind can stand. So, 7 levels. Question everything. Notice patterns. Research deeper. Connect the dots. Uncover the truth. See beyond the illusion. Know the game. You've heard all 7 now. You felt one of them land harder than the others. One of them wasn't a description. It was a mirror. You know which one. The only question left is whether you're going to stay there or keep climbing. Because climbing costs something. And nobody tells you what you lose on the way up. That's where we're going next.